afternoon, good evening. My name is Kate McNulty Vaughn. I'm a member of the Lenox Planning Board and the current chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. I'm also in the room tonight. We have other members of I Trust. So let's start with the names. Mary Beth Nitz not here. She was the past chair, but we have Don Weber, who is the clerk of the trust, Chris Fenton,
He's the treasurer of the trust, of the trust, of the trust.
Many people telling you to see the door. He's also a member. Missing so far, I think also is Jackie McNinch and Volker Weiss. Good to see this. I don't usually use notes, but I think congratulations.
All right, so welcome to Lenox. Both a welcome to Penrose for the development that they've done on the Pittsfield Road along the Ridge Line, which we love. Also welcome, so I'd like to introduce, Rebecca Schofield, who is the development manager, correct? Development manager, and Ashley Persinger, who is the transition marketing and lease-up manager. So those are the folks who are going to answer your questions. And just for a little bit of information. Yes, sir?
Microphone's not working. Put it right next to your mouth.
I feel like I'm eating the microphone.
That's great.
All right, we'll go back to that. So Rebecca Schofield over here, senior developer, Ashley Persinger over there, transition marketing and lease-up manager. And they're the folks with the information. So let's go.
You know, you can possibly just say, I can think.
Please. All right. So welcome to all of you who came. Some of you are just curious about what's been going on in the road. Some of you hopefully will be potential applicants. So we're delighted that you're here tonight on this very special night. Before the presentation, I'd like to give you a little bit of information about the Lenox Affordable Housing Trust. What have we been up to? We've been trying to improve the housing options, especially affordable, and get help out to our stretched homeowners. We are currently involved in a community development block grant with the town of Lee. The homeowner was able to acquire up to $70,000 in funding. It's a loan over a 15-year period to rehab a home. So 8 homes in Lenox are part of that program right now and getting rehab. We're also in the middle of an application with the town of Sandersfield for the next round of funding next year. And we hope to also add the number of homes in town that we're able to help get rehabbed and help the homeowners who are stretched. Again, these are income qualification projects, but get your applications in, and we're very fortunate. There's a lady in the county named Dawn Lemon who's very helpful in matching up things and helping people through these application processes. As for rentals, we're involved in a rental assistance program with Construct, and all of this kind of information is on our website, or we can make it available if you get hold of us personally. So rental assistance, we work through Construct. We also have a first-time homeowner assistance program. In that case, it's perhaps not important to you, but if you know people who are looking to buy a home in Lenox and they manage to find something, we will offer, again, for income qualified folks and working with the local banks, we offer up to $20,000 in a grant to you. If you desire to help to sell your house, it's a deed restricted house. No, I'm sorry, wrong thing here. That homeowner grant is yours. We have an agreement that you must, if you decide to sell the house that you have bought with this assistance within 5 years, and you have to a graduated repay of that fund. Well, once 5 years is up, you are free and clear of any obligation in terms of that money. The other thing is this. The Lenox Land Trust is really the first and only trust in Berkshire so far that actually has purchased, rehabbed, and sold 2 homes to income qualified homeowners. Those homes are deed restricted for future homeowners, and this was under really the leadership of past President Mary Beth Nitz. That project unfortunately happened during the COVID period, making it a very difficult situation for everyone. But nevertheless, we have 2 homes in Lenox that are deed restricted in perpetuity for affordable home ownership. The other thing that we're doing right now is we're looking for land. If you know someone with excess acreage who would like to sell or donate land to us, we're certainly interested in doing home ownership projects. We've seen some home ownership development projects unfolding in some of the other towns in the county, and we're interested in trying to model something here in Lenox as well. So if you know someone who's thinking, boy, why do I have 15 acres? I really only want 10. Get in touch with us, because we'll be interested in whether we can work something out with it if that homeowner, and perhaps acquire some land for some future housing development here in town that would be deed restricted, affordable over time. I was going to hold up my housing production plan. That's ahead of us. We do need to update it. That will give us better numbers as we go into the future on how dire the situation has become here in the county. I'm going to go full circle right at the moment. I remembered a letter that someone from town had written. Somewhat frustrated young man in his mid-20s, and he wrote a letter in support of this particular brushwood farm. We'll always call it brushwood farms, I know. Okay. It's named the Forge, but he wrote a letter in support of the project. And it was in the file with the application to the ZBA, and that's how I happened to see it. So let me tell you what he said. He was in his mid-20s. He was in the hospitality industry here in town and had been an employee and manager of several downtown Berkshire establishments, Firefly, Mission, Hotel on North. He had worked at Tanglewood, etc. And he found that at the hourly wage, it was impossible to find adequate housing within Lenox, just impossible, and very frustrating for him. And he has left the area. I sent him an email this morning saying, you know, you may hear about this, Matt, because I'm going to mention your name today. His name's Matt Quaid. He's currently in Iowa. I think he went to New Hampshire first, but now he's in Iowa. And he says, at the time when he wrote this letter, he said, I could not imagine managing a staff of customer service agents, housekeepers, restaurant servers, or kitchen staff in the Berkshires who made less money with less benefits than I had, oftentimes with more responsibility. And he said, I reaffirm my support behind this project and believe we would fail our fellow constituents and the young generation of people trying to make their way in the Berkshires if this project was to be aborted. I grew up around the corner from Brushwood Farms and would happily have had more friends around as youth and in my classes, and I hope this population influx benefits not only our local businesses with a hireable pool of employees and a consumer base for our local products, but the social fabric of our township as well. And that letter stayed with me a long time. And when he responded to me this morning, sorry, you may not find it. He pretty much says the same thing. What are the effects of these developments going to be on our town and on our region? They're going to bring more people in. And those people are going to be part of the workforce, they're going to be part of our neighborhoods, they're going to be part of our town. And so when I say welcome to Lenox, I mean that. I didn't grow up here, but Lenox welcomed my family here when we moved in. And I hope that you have the same experience that we've had here, which has been wonderful. I don't want to move anywhere else. And Matt says,
What's happening?
he's now, well, his position now is he's the food service director for, I'll leave it unnamed, but a national and actually international financial corporation in Des Moines, Iowa. And he said, and the situation is 150% more dire in the Berkshires than in Iowa or anywhere I have resided. So that tells you why we're losing our population, and we better get going. So welcome to Penrose. They're putting the Forge out for lease. You've got 2 months. pass this word on to everyone you know who's been looking for housing here or struggling with rental payments or whatever. Because coming down the road after this one is 238 Pittsfield Road, another mixed income affordable development. And we really need to open our arms to both of those because they're going to be so beneficial to our town and to our region. So Rebecca and Ashley, take it away.
Thank you for all your kind words, and thank you guys. That's heartwarming, and we are just so incredibly happy to be here and to be bringing some well-needed housing. I was telling Chris back there, I was doing my research when I'm actually in North Carolina, and I help with all of our lease ups. So I travel around and do these sorts of information sessions and get to know the area and where is the need and things like that. And I was doing my research here, and I was like, where are the apartment communities? What are our comps?
They don't let them do that.
And I was just coming across a lot of just individual homes and things like that. So I'm super excited to be starting this project. What a beautiful, beautiful town you all have. So glad to be here visiting today. I got the entire day to just kind of explore, and it's absolutely breathtaking, and I cannot wait to get this puppy filled up. So let's learn a little bit more about Forge. And thank you to Becca for being here as well, our senior developer. Did you have any 2 cents before we?
I'll let you lead and I'll jump in for more project specific stuff.
Yes, she might need to help me answer some questions for sure. She's been with the project even longer than I have. It's absolutely. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about applying for affordable housing with Penrose. So just as an outline of what we're going to be going over today, the overview of Forge will include some site plans, renderings, apartment and community features, floor plans, our construction timeline, which I know everybody is very anxious to hear about, a little bit more about the lease-up process. That includes income eligibility and our rents, how to apply, and how is this lottery going to work. If you've never participated in a housing lottery, we'll get to that in a bit as well. So we are a brand new rental community in Lenox, a total of 65 mixed income apartments that consist of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. We're going to have 13 beautiful individual townhome style buildings and a beautiful clubhouse. I actually got the privilege of driving past the site today, and it's just gorgeous. You see the clubhouse up on the hill. It's just going to be breathtaking when it's all finished. Our unit mix is going to consist of 30, 60, and 120% area median income, which we will get to that in a bit as well and explain a little bit more about what that means. And we are situated just north of downtown Lenox, which here we are, absolutely beautiful, adorable little downtown, directly south of the courtyard at Lenox Berkshire's Hotel. So we kind of abut right to that hotel. And we are across the street from the Lenox Commons Retail Center, which I also had the privilege of visiting today, met a lot of the employees at those stores. I really think our community could be great for a lot of those employees as well. And then here's just an overview of our site location compared to downtown Lenox, where we are located. And there is our beautiful rendering of our site plan. So as I mentioned, we've got those individual beautiful townhomes and the clubhouse that will include our amenities and leasing office, which we'll get more into detail about shortly as well. But just beautiful renderings of the community enjoying. You're going to have sidewalks lined. You'll have parking out in front of each building. Lovely playground, picnic areas. Something for everybody to enjoy. And there is that stunning clubhouse that I mentioned that you can see at the top of the hill. That will just be beautiful. And a list of our community amenities. So again, we'll have that inviting clubhouse. Penrose is really great about bringing outside people from the community to engage, whether it be educational, bingo nights, just getting the residents together to have that sense of community. So that will take place in our clubhouse, and then the residents can enjoy that space anytime as well. We're going to have a beautiful fitness center with state-of-the-art fitness equipment, covered bike parking, the playground for children as you saw in the rendering, and then those sidewalks throughout the community if you want to take a stroll. EV charging stations in this day and age, that's definitely something that we're going to need. And then that surface parking is going to be unassigned and no cost to the residents. It's just going to be on first come, first served basis in the community. We will have beautiful, professionally landscaped grounds. Our teams do an excellent job. We'll have a full maintenance staff and everything to keep the community looking beautiful. And with that maintenance staff, you get 24-hour emergency maintenance service as well. So someone is going to be on call for you 24 hours a day should you have anything emergent happen. And some of the internal apartment features, again, we consist of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. We'll have modern kitchens with electric ranges and dishwasher. And every unit will have an in-unit washer and dryer, which is such a wonderful amenity to have. Spacious closets, open floor plans, of course, central AC and heat. We are pet friendly. We love our fur family members. We do have some restrictions, so if you have any questions about a specific breed, you can definitely let us know. And then the resident is responsible for electric and cable. So we cover essentially the water and the trash services, and you would set up your own electric and cable accounts. And there's a sample of one of our spacious 1-bedroom floor plans. The average square footage in the top right is about 610 to 662. As you can see, the living room is open to the bedroom. Nice open concept. There'll be very bright and airy spaces. An example of our 2-bedroom, as you can see depicted in the photo there, and we're going to have the majority of our 2 and 3 bedrooms will be 2 stories. As you see with the stairs there. And then an example of our 3-bedroom floor plan. Between 1231 square feet and 1340 square feet. So really nice size space here as well. And then it's showing you that it's going to be bi-level with those 3 bedrooms. And the long-awaited construction and lottery timeline. So May 14th, today, 2025, this is when our lottery pre-application period opens. So you have from today until the next date, July 14th, 2025, to get those applications in. The postmark date is July 14th. So if you're going to take it to the post office, we would advise to get there, maybe a week sooner, just to make sure that you got that postmark on there by July 14th. And then 2 weeks after the deadline for the lottery applications is the actual lottery. We're going to host that via Microsoft Teams. And it's a very quick process. Basically, every single lottery application goes into our system, and during that call, we randomize all those applications, and that's going to give you your lottery number, which basically means that's the placement in which your application will get processed. And then in July, after that lottery takes place, we'll start calling lottery application number 1 and working our way down the list. I will say also, when it comes to the lottery, if you end up drawing a slightly higher number, please don't get discouraged. Sometimes you get through hundreds and hundreds of applications before filling up the community in that initial lease up. So we just say to hang tight with us. If you have a little bit of flexibility with your move-in date, even better, because we most likely will get to you. And even if we don't get to you in the initial lottery, you will maintain on our wait list. So if you don't make it in the first lease up, the first person that moves out, we're going to go to the next lottery participant that's on our wait list. Okay? And then August 2025, that is when we are anticipating our first move-ins. Again, that is pending any construction delays, but that is the timeline we are on currently. And now we're going to get into a little bit about income eligibility and the actual rents. How is our eligibility determined? So the federal government sets maximum income limits. These maximum limits are based on the area median income, which is what I was referring to, the AMI. This measuring incomes in the Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and the metropolitan statistical area. So basically, it's saying what is your income a certain percentage of that AMI? Are you 60% of the local AMI? Are you 120%? And so on. And then these income limits are set by the percent of the AMI and are recalculated each year. So this might make a little bit more sense. We'll kind of get an example up on the screen. So we're looking at our 1-bedroom. If you see in the first column, that's the unit size. And then you would find how many people are in your household. Are you a 1 or 2 person household? So with the 1-bedroom, 2 people would be the maximum for a 1-bedroom. So say I'm a 1-person household and I make $50,000 a year. If you see in that very first where it says qualifying income range, my $50,000 falls right between that range. So therefore, I would qualify for a 60% AMI, 1-bedroom at $1,305 per month. If I was a 2-person household, same thing. You would see let's say my spouse and myself each make $25,000. We're looking at your gross annual income combined with everybody in your household over 18. So say we both made $25,000 and we're at that 50,000 range, my two-person household, that 50,000 falls right between that range as well, and that would qualify me for a 1305 one-bedroom. Does that make sense? And then if you see at the bottom too, there are 4 30% AMIs. So if you see up here, we have 60 and 120, but we will have 4 that are set aside for Massachusetts rental voucher program units.
We actually have 9.
Right, and just one bedrooms.
Right, okay.
So we kind of broke it down. So there's 4 one-bedrooms, and then on the next slide, it'll say how many 2 to 3s and so forth. Thank you, guys.
The state of 5.
Yes, exactly. Rents and income limits are subject to change, and utilities will need to be paid by the resident separately, not included in these rental amounts. So again, you would set up your electricity and your cable bill.
Hampton.
Give me 1 second here, okay. There we go, got our 2 bedrooms up on the screen. Okay, so for this scenario, let's just say we are a 4-person household. It's my spouse, myself, and we have 2 children. So that makes us a 4-person household. And let's just say we are at $103,000 per year combined. Honestly, I make 50-some, my husband makes 50-some. Together, we are at that range. So if you see the very last line there where it says 4 people, we would fall right into that range for 120% 2-bedroom, which would be $29.86 per month. Just giving you an example so it's a little clearer. And then for the 2 bedrooms, there are 3 of the 30% set aside MRVP 2-bedroom units available. So if your income is lower than that 60% threshold, we still encourage you to apply because you can potentially qualify for those. And our 3 bedrooms. So 3 bedrooms can accommodate up to 6 individuals. And you'll see those ranges listed up there as well. And again, that's combined of everybody in the household before taxes. And then with the 3 bedrooms, we have 2 of the 30% MRVP voucher units. And preparing to apply, which some of you have already applied, so good job. You're ahead of the game. So documentation to verify your income. We're going to be looking at things like copies of your last 6 pay stubs from current job or jobs. So if you do have multiple jobs, we would need to see those most recent 6 pay stubs from all of your forms of income. We will be looking at your last 2 forms as well, all the pages of those. We'll be looking for proof of cash payments. This is what we need by any kind of gig income. So if you have a side job that pays cash, that's something that's regularly deposited into your account, things like Uber Eats, Postmates, things like that, or you give voice lessons for $50 a lesson, anything that's showing in those bank accounts that we'll look at would be counted as part of that income. And then assets, anything with cash value is an asset, including money in a bank account, investments, property. We're only going to calculate a small amount of the income that these assets earn. It's based on interest and other factors. So if you have a particular account or something like that that you would want to kind of clarify with us, feel free to do so. And then you would bring documentation of all these assets when we would call you in from the lottery to continue the process. And then documentation, again, to verify these assets. We're going to look at things like 6 months of your most recent consecutive bank statements. So that would be checking and savings on all accounts that you have. Any pension and annuity statements. Investment accounts, statements from things like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, retirement accounts. If you own property, we would need things like copies of your mortgage statements, and your homeowner's insurance, and tax bills. And then other tenant selection criteria. So all of our prospective new residents do receive an in-depth credits and standardized criminal and background screening via your landlords through a third-party reporting agency that we use through our screening system. The software that we use is called Yari. So everyone is input and screened exactly the same way. We're looking at things like housing court history, any bankruptcies, delinquencies, outstanding utilities, things like that would pop up on your credit. We're not necessarily looking for an exact credit score. It's kind of a grouping score of all of your past rental payments. The credit is part of it, so it's kind of like a group scoring. So we do encourage everybody to apply. And preferences, so we will have a local preference in the lottery to those who live, work, or have children that go to school in any of the following towns. So we've got Lenox, Adams, North Adams, Cheshire, Dalton, Great Barrington, Innisdale, Housatonic. We got it. I'm still learning my cities. Lexingdale, Pittsfield, City of, Williamstown, New Ashford, Washington, Beckett, Otis, Sheffield, Lanesboro, Stockbridge, and West Stockbridge. So we do cover quite our bases there for that local preference. What that means is if you live and reside, live, work, or have children that go to school in an area, essentially your application will be processed as a priority. 70% of our units has that local preference. So we're really trying to get the local community.
It's supposed to be Lance first. This is all of first.
I can speak to that. Yeah. That was an issue we proposed, but the state did not approve that. So we have to get the state of Massachusetts, the executive office that has livable communities that funded the project. They have to approve a local preference. So we pushed hard for that with the support of CPC and their benefit organizations. But this is what they did accept for that regional preference.
That's huge. That's a huge area.
It's just Lance. It's not just Lance, but again, without sorry, what's it?
When I could just invite or to
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, just to clarify, is we didn't include all of these towns, then there wouldn't be any local preference. And you'd be competing with folks from across the state. So this was our compromise.
Just to be clear, Lenox, Toledo, Bledisdale was the hamlet of Lenox. Lenox is part of that list as well, I would imagine.
It's the first one.
Oh, it is? Okay. But
Yeah, it's just a long paragraph. I know it's a lot of towns there too.
Actually, I'll add too, obviously folks from Lenox have been part of this process since the beginning, right? So we fully expect that current Lenox residents or people who work or live here, right, are going to have that full information and early information about applying. And I think that's an important advantage to know.
Absolutely, thank you. But yeah, all are encouraged to apply. We would have that small percentage that would still qualify if somebody resides outside of these areas.
good. Good morning. Like you are retired and you don't work in here and you just live here.
If you live here, you will have a local preference.
Huh?
It's all the same for live, work, or have kids who live here.
So why is it advantage for the next 2 hours while you're just in metal when you get your education in?
I just expect that more people from Lenox are aware of the project and then will apply. As much as, we'll do our fair housing marketing and all of those requirements that we're, committed to, we do expect that would be. Okay.
I thought you were going to also have apartments for disabled.
We do, yeah. So per code, 5% of the units are going to be getting accessible. And we have at each unit type.
At what?
At each unit type. So like there is an accessible 3-bedroom that's a flat, for example.
And so how is that? I didn't see how that, how do you apply for that knowing that you can be disabled house?
So when you fill out your application, you'll leave a note that you need that, and then you will be in a part of the people that are specifically for that unit, because people that don't qualify for an accessible unit aren't competing with you for that unit. Does that make sense?
How many 2-bedrooms or 1-bedroom?
5% of the units are accessible.
But I don't know what that means for how many 1-bedroom apartments are there that are handicapped?
I believe it's one of each, maybe 2 1-bedrooms. I'll have to double check.
We can get you that. We can blow up a sheet after this for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you for these questions. Sorry to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then this is just to review your own credit report and score. If you wanted to take a look at it, here's some free resources you can use prior to applying. If you just wanted to see if anything is coming up on your accounts, two that we recommend are annualcreditreport.com as well as creditkarma.com. It's not going to be an exact FICO score, but it's going to get you the information you need about your credit if you just wanted to see it for free. And our pet policy. So again, we are going to be fur friendly. We have 2 pet maximum, and then we ask 35 pounds or less for each pet. No aggressive breeds. Again, if there's a breed that you have questions about, just come and see us. And it is just going to be $25 per month per pet rent. Okay, so now getting into how to apply. So what some of you have already filled out today is what we call our pre-application. It's 2 pages in length and a cover sheet with the submission instructions that tell you where you're going to mail the application or email or scan over to us. We will say only 1 lottery application can be accepted per household. So if you are applying with somebody else, you want to just list that person on your application in order to be eligible. So just 1 per household. And the pre-app includes things like head of household information of all your household members. And all of this information is required: name, date of birth, sex, relationship with your other people in your household and how they're related to you, your social security ID number, and then your annual household income, things like employment wages, if you receive any SSI, SSD, public assistance, child support, pension, or any other income. And then it'll ask you some additional questions about rental history and things as well. It's pretty straightforward. And the pre-applications, if you have anybody else, you're free. We've got the paper ones here in the room today. You're free to take some of those, or you can download it right on our website, which is forgeatlennox.com. You would just print it out, complete it as neatly and tidy as possible, because this is your very, very important personal information like social and address. You want to make sure that all gets input correctly. So as clearly as possible. And if you are going to email it, we just ask that it's a very clear PDF scan over to us. If you need one mailed to you, you can also ask for that at forgeatpenrose.com, and we're happy to mail a physical copy out to you. We do have additional languages upon request as well, so if you need that, just let us know. And then they are going to be submitted, again, email, fax, or US mail. Those are the 3 ways we're accepting the applications. And you will mail it to our corporate office, so don't get thrown off by the Philadelphia address. That is our corporate office at 1301 North 31st Street in Philadelphia. So if you're mailing it, just triple check that address to make sure it gets to the right place. And all these applications, basically from 60 days from today, you have until 7/14/25 to be accepted into the lottery. And again, they must be completed in their entirety, so make sure you fill out every question that is asked. And then by signing that application, you are giving us permission to go ahead and run that credit and background check. So just so that you know, as you sign it, you are giving us permission to run that check. And then what comes next? Yes, we have a question.
How would someone know that their application had been received?
So with the applications, we're going to have a couple of rounds of, we call them reference number letters that will go out. So we'll take the first batch of folks that apply, whoever's the first 100 or, whatever number we get to, and then you're going to get a letter in the mail. So you will want to make sure you have a valid mailing address on your application, because that's where your reference number is going to go, and then that's where your lottery results will also go. But good question, thank you. And then the actual lottery is going to take place on Friday, July 28th, 2025. The time is TBA, but it's going to be a Microsoft Teams link. And that link will be posted closer to the date right on our website. So if you choose to tune in, you can, but you certainly are not required to attend the lottery. All the lottery number results will be mailed out right after that lottery takes place. So no worries if you have an important meeting at the same time as our meeting.
So you're using postal mail, like email confirmation of success?
We're more than happy if you wanted to run into us and just confirm, but we will, just because we do tend to get so many applications, we'll just go ahead and do those bulk mailings. But if you want to double check, absolutely. Give us a call or shoot us an email. Hey, did you receive my application? And we're more than happy to confirm that for you. And then there is just a first page of the actual application. So again, the one that you're gonna do now is a pre-application. And then once we would call you in, say you're number 1 on the lottery list, and we're gonna call you first to come in to continue the process. This is a little bit more in-depth information. You're gonna fill this out with somebody on the team, as well as bring all those income documents. So no other documents are needed other than just that 2-page application right now, and everything else will come later after the lottery. Right now, the pre-application is just basically giving us enough information to go ahead and run your screening and get you kind of pre-approved, we call it, for the process. There we go. Questions?
So if you are looking at a one-bedroom apartment for 2 people, and you're trying to figure out where your AMI is, and say that you make $65,000 a year, where's your rent?
Is that falls right between?
Yeah, it's just 80,000, and it starts again at 85,000.
Correct. So
What happens to the people in Richmond?
this particular community, these are the tiers that we're working with. And again, if it's under that 1-person household, so if it's under that 44,000, you could potentially qualify for one of those at the bottom, the MRVP units. But unfortunately, if it's in that kind of gray, that empty space, you would either be underqualified or overqualified.
What? Because if you earn $65,000 a year, there's no place for you?
So this is always tricky with affordable housing. Unfortunately, you would still be eligible to apply, but you would basically be in the 120% tier, so that rent would be very costly for you. I do want to note, for the 120% units specifically, we underwrote those at a pretty broad range. So I would really encourage you to apply, even if your income is a little bit lower than shown for the 120%, because we can try to be flexible, like we want to make this work for folks. But again, we also want to make sure that you're not committed to a rent that is too high for your income.
Well, what if you just made like a little over 50,000, and you're not anywhere near $85,000? You're still in the money?
What we might do is we'll follow up with you and say, like, for example, like, oh, it looks like you're working over. Just if you don't work overtime, then you make within this income range, you would be eligible. And then maybe you get a letter from your boss, and they say, okay, you won't work overtime. Here's your income eligibility. Here's your updated. Like, it's worth a conversation no matter where you fall. It's actually my point.
Right, and because we look at so many different things such as assets, or if you're drawing payments from any certain accounts, there's so many aspects that our compliance team looks at. So again, if there is a question, again, it's still worth a conversation. If you are in between those ranges anywhere.
Mr. Can you tell you that?
Thank you. If you win the lottery, and you get notified, you fill out the next round of applications, how long before one has to commit to taking the apartment?
Typically, so the question was how long do you have until you have to commit to that particular apartment? Typically, we can hold a unit for about 30 days. So when you're contacted for the lottery, we are trying to get move-ins as soon as possible. If it's not a great time for you, you can still remain on our wait list. So say if you end up finding housing before we contact you, for whatever reason, you can stay on that wait list, and maybe the following year, as people give notice, we can touch back. We can keep notes in our system updated about the deeds that you're looking to move.
Yes.
Tell me, I think you said it or I read it, how many apartments are going to be if your construction is on schedule? The lottery is July 28th. First move-ins are August. That's not a lot of time to sort of leave where you're going and do whatever. So you're saying like you could hold an apartment for a month. You needed to get.
If you need to get a 30-day notice, we totally understand. That does not matter in that. Yeah, not at. If you're accepted in the lottery and you need to give a 30-day notice, great. Then we will.
But you also have to be approved for the 3 weeks.
Right. So that's, I mean, we get your application, we submit full application, we review your application, you're notified that everything's good, and then you say, okay, I have to give a 30-day notice. That's okay.
That's really be possibly bringing on this.
So in August, we're expecting at least half of the apartments will be ready, and then September we will be complete on what? Yeah.
This is kind of like in the period between July, when it was to get your application, and does it that when you get it into that period?
Not at all. So no, you won't have any advantage if you apply tomorrow, and you won't have any disadvantage if you apply on July 13th.
So you said you review things every year, so would your rent go up every year?
So your income qualification will be essentially renewed every year, and then your rent will be tied to that.
So it could be rent go up every year.
It depends on. It's not
If it stays to qualify, would say 60%. Like the first year will be 1,300. But could you decide to?
Yeah, it could go up a few percentage points. If you look at the surrounding market, and we certainly try to be competitive. You know, we don't have huge jumps or anything in all the properties that I'm working with currently. But again, we just kind of analyze the current market and see what's happening and to evaluate those percentages.
we also we're capped within the range of rents that are published by HUD. So HUD might say rents are lower this year. Area median income has dropped in the area, therefore your rent will go down. So it goes both ways. Yes.
Do you try to sort of have a mix of families, some with children, some without deal with that at all?
So the question was, are we looking at certain types of people? So anybody, due to fair housing laws, anybody over the age of 18 that qualifies can certainly. So it's just the order of the lottery that we're going in. So whoever our first 65 qualified applicants are.
About coming in.
Sorry.
Is it?
Yeah, you can use the mic if you want to, if everybody.
I'm so I just seen the one that has.
We look at the I think it takes a breath and comes up too.
The mic is curious. You said if you're going to be working with people, I'd be able to ask that selling the property. And speaking up for a question as to the rents going up, will you work with people who are in fixed incomes? Because the rent goes up, you only have, a fixed income. So should a person even apply, or should they be discouraged?
They should apply.
They should apply.
So there's a great
Yeah, I mean it's
And that much.
Right, and we try to be sensitive to that for sure.
Yeah, no, I think maybe the overarching message is that these are all conversations that we have, and we definitely want you to apply, and we want to work with you. And I think that a lot of what Ashley's presenting here is stuff that I don't know about just my own. This is stuff that you go through. We have professional folks to understand how to put all the pieces together, and then you'll talk about where you fall and kind of what can work, not just at Lisa, but also year to year as you're recertified. So I hope that helps. Yes, Steve.
I just want to say, I have one dog. She was a best income for over 10 years. I have yet to find a place that they guarantee your income is not going to go up. I've had an increase every single year.
That your rent's not going to go up?
An increase in my income. So,
Yeah. Understood. And understood. And I think that
you don't think that
Why?
you're doing an injustice by not being able to say how much it's going to go up. Or,
and
but if
Frank,
you want to find a place where you can guarantee your rent, please let me know.
frankly, we will not increase as much as market rents increase, regardless,
Because of those guys.
because of those guidelines. So we can only, HUD AMI changes, but we can only increase rent by so much annually, and Steve super respects that fixed income might not change. And yeah, again, we'll have all of these conversations during these other beyond. sorry, the waste of
Like them.
so you have different buildings where the apartments are. Yes.
And is it a mixture of one bedroom, two bedroom, and three bedrooms per building? Or how is it broken up?
Sure. So the question was, how does it not per like townhouse building in terms of unit mixes? There are a few different building types that all have, maybe this one has 4 1s and 2 2s, maybe this one has 2 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s. So there are just a few different options, and that depends on whether or not it has an accessible unit. That might depend on the slope of the hill behind it and how we like oriented the building. So it's really a bit of a range, but I will say that each building has unit mixes. So there's no building that's all one bedrooms, for example.
Okay. Do the apartments get assigned?
The apartments get assigned, yes. Like you'll have a unit number.
No, I mean, do you get to choose?
Oh, the apartment, yeah. You do not get to choose your apartment. It will be assigned to you.
Yeah, I agree. I think you answered this, but I just want to clarify.
Is the application, the pre-application that we filled out today, the only application needed up until the lottery on July 14th?
Correct.
Is there anything else you need?
No, just that 2-page application.
What qualifies the person? We talked about being qualified to be in the lottery. So what's the criteria?
In terms of like income level? Yes.
Whatever you're looking at to qualify people to be in the lottery.
Sure, so anyone can apply for the lottery, and then once you're selected, once we get your number in the lottery, which I did want to make a point that everybody does receive a lottery number. So it's not necessarily like, I won the lottery. It's, say if we have 600 applications, you might be number 1, you might be number 600.
What do you do? What does your company do to qualify people?
Sure, so we can.
You have a pre-application.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes, so we take your pre-application, we put it into our system to screen out credit and background. If that's approved, then we ask you to send in things like sometimes we do email, sometimes, if you prefer to come in person, to bring those income documents. Then we start a file for you, and we work with our compliance team to get all of the necessary documents, depending on what kind of accounts you have, like savings or.
So you're going to need those documents before the lottery?
No, so right now it's just the 2 pages, and then once we call you in, we call it an intake interview, where we continue the process. And we'll send you a really nice email with a whole list of any possible document we can think of that you might need to bring in to your interview, so that you make sure you have
So
everything.
to clarify, is that between the 14th and the lottery ends, 28th? In terms of the timing of this screening?
The timing of this, so we would be inputting applications as we receive them. You mean into the system? Yeah, we would just we would put in your information. We typically don't run your credit in background until we actually get close to your need, if that makes sense. Because our screening results are only valid for about 90 days. So we want to make sure that we're running your screening at the appropriate time.
What are the definitions come the utilities? Sure, I can. So the utilities for any unit are heating, cooling, water, sewer, which we cover, trash cover, and then cable. Basically, want that. So big and like other electric, like your plugs. So the tenant is paying their electric bill, and the landlord is paying water, sewer, trash. Heating is electric. It is, so per state code, stretch code, all new construction these days is all electric.
Right.
So,
Go. I'll make you questions. The first one is do you offer different kind of leasing contract, or what is the minimum on leasing contract? And you'll have 12 months, 18 months, or
yeah, it's a 12-month lease. And sorry, I should note too, for all of the units that are 60% AMI or below, which is 50 of the 65 units, there is a utility allowance. So that's essentially a small discount to cover the cost of utilities, which is set by the state. So for that.
so then the second one, sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for 1 bedroom. So if I get a side approval, how many vehicles can I have?
So the property has 99 parking spaces. And I think we basically would guarantee a space for your unit, but not for a second car. If you're one person in a bedroom. So that's,
But they might have like 2 bedrooms, can't have like a one more hard to space.
yeah, I mean, obviously, we would register cars. Like, you will have to tell your property management person, is that the site staff, that this is your car. Otherwise, obviously, it will get towed. So, I think we would work out that policy kind of closer to operation within, but we would expect that, you know, if you're one person, you know, shouldn't.
Thanks.
So, instead like a lot of holidays and duplexes, there was somebody wants to. Yeah, the larger units are more townhouse style, so there'll be like a bedroom on the upper story. But we do also have like a 3-bedroom flat accessible unit. So also a 2-bedroom. There, we have 2-bedroom flats and we have 2-bedroom that are towns. I think.
Yeah, so besides being a basic income product, it's also lease age project.
Again, yeah, anybody over 18 is welcome to apply. Yeah, as long as, yep, exactly, yep. And as long as you fit our occupancy standards, which again is the 2 people for 1 bedroom, 4 people for 2, 6 for a grade.
I already possess a Section 8 housing choice voucher already. And would my A, it would be eligible to step in the project, right? And B, would it fall under one of those, there are 4 units based on income, or would it be in a whole different category besides that?
You'd be in the 60% urban category.
I'd be in that category, but still
Yeah.
qualified.
Totally qualified, yeah. Yes.
I'm just curious, if the unit has like 1 bedroom, and then a 2-bedroom or 3 bedrooms, are they all 1 floor, or we should have a 2-bedroom above the 1 bedroom?
You could have a 2-bedroom unit above the 1 bedroom. So essentially, like, here's your entry to the 1 bedroom, here's your entry to the 2-bedroom, you open the door and you go upstairs.
Okay. But how would that, in terms of noise, how would that work out?
So it's great question. The question was noise within the building. So it's new construction, all new materials. We have insulation requirements. We have acoustical requirements. You should be good. If you have any issues, property management will be there to support you.
You can know your neighbors.
But again, new construction, high quality materials, this is all stuff that we build a lot of multifamily housing, and we definitely incorporate our standards into how we design those types of. Yeah.
And we'll enforce quiet hours as well.
Carpeting units?
No carpeting. It's like hardwood, like solid floors. So
Okay. Could you tell how many of these projects you've done? And what, say, 100,000? Where? Well, this is their first rodeo on this, and they told us to expect a lot of these kinds of questions. They've been great questions, so.
sure, I can do a quick little, Penrose, based in Philly. I'm on the New England team, so we work mostly Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Our office is at Boston. I'm in Lenox, at least every month, multiple times. But I think just for kind of a range of what we do a lot of these affordable, mixed income kinds of projects. We do some projects in urban areas that are high-rise or mid-rise buildings with elevators. We also do a lot of these townhouse-style developments, not just here, but on the Cape, in Connecticut, where we have these smaller buildings that don't have elevators, that are, more, everybody has their own entrance. And yeah, it's a common building type for us. It works really well in neighborhoods. It really allows for a sense of community within that development. So yeah, we have hundreds and hundreds of projects and have learned a lot through that about how it works.
Yes.
I'm interested in individual development space, because it looked like they were sort of.
Sure. Do you want to go to the site plan? Every building has like a little porch, like a covered porch area. And then you can see that kind of lower roof. Yeah. So then in addition to that, there's a deck at the community building.
Yes, that's beautiful.
So that kind of front porch where you can put a chair and hang out is that individual space. But then there's this deck off the community room, and then there's, that shared space in the clubhouse. Plus the playground, walking paths, that kind of thing.
So in the back of the buildings,
It's pretty steep back there.
is a beautiful wooded.
Yes.
Very
Steeply wood.
Conservation Commission knows. We preserved the vast majority of the trees, and really tried to minimize site disturbance. So around the buildings is really still quite natural. Yes, sir.
So then, my current Section 8 housing protocol, which I've had for years, is currently under a possible threat in the phone. Nothing certain that. By me transferring it, taking it with me, bringing it to this new development, would I be immune from federal cuts or any less vulnerable to them, or no?
You wouldn't be immune, but losing your voucher would mean that you would then be paying 60% AMI rent, but, big but, that's something property management works on with you. So we're not like, okay, you lost your voucher, here's your new rent. It's definitely a conversation, a process. We understand this is a risk throughout our portfolio for a whole lot of people, and our mission is to build stable housing. So we want to make that work for you. That's a squishy answer, but it's a little unpredictable. But yeah, you would still be qualified to live in the building even
There
without
would be
a
a
voucher.
conversation trying to work.
Yeah. No, and we expect to see this in hopefully not, but we expect that we'll have to deal with it in a lot of cases, and it'll just mean less rent for the property, and we figure that out.
And right to start, there's 4 units that are on index. Are they, and will they be, just as vulnerable to federal cuts that are being?
That's an incredible question. The answer is no. Because it's 4 bedrooms, so we actually have 9 total, 30% AMI units, and those are supported by the MRVPs, so those are state level subsidies, and that's project-based assistance for those 9 units.
So they are immune.
So they're immune from federal cuts. They're vulnerable to state cuts, but we don't see that coming from Massachusetts yet.
We're not really these.
So we only have 9 of those.
Yeah, are there other units that you put this out? Units 60 and then 20, are they vulnerable to federal cuts?
No, because those units don't assume any voucher.
Sure.
They are I'll say it differently, they don't assume any operating subsidy. Which is what's really threatened these days, unfortunately. Yes.
So if you get accepted to one of the apartments, what are the prerequisites for first of last rent? First month, last month, security?
Typically, it's a 1-month security and then the first month's rent.
So you don't need less.
No less.
Okay.
Oh, and then just, if you have a pet, it'll be pet rent. Setting up your utilities, that would be required by move-in date. But yeah, typically just 1 month and then the 1 month as a security deposit that is refundable after move out.
Okay. Are you getting tours before I get in?
Yes, as soon as we can.
So yeah, it's you can coordinate that with management, and that's something that you would set up during your interview process. So you kind of get a little further down the path, and then basically once the community building is complete, that clubhouse, the management team would be able to post up there, set up their office, and have people to the site. So then we can host tours. Until then, the site's under construction, so we want to be very careful.
Until we're allowed to be there, unfortunately, yeah. But we do host a lot of open houses as well. So I would, reach out to the on-site team or keep an eye on our website. anytime we have a open to the public open house, we'll post it on there because we do want people to be able to not necessarily have an appointment, but just, come on a Saturday. We would love to have an open house. So once we know all those details, we'll post them on our website as well.
Depending on timing, we could also do a virtual tour. So it's, we can work with you as we get to that point too. We want to make sure you let people.
Yeah, certainly. We take video footage a lot of the times to send to the applicants. Once we're able to get our hard hats on and get in there, we can definitely, it might not be, it might have some specks of dust and construction, things like that, but you would get a good idea of the space. So we're willing to work with you, however it's going to make your decision easier. Because we want you to stay with us.
So I've got this 40 acres that the town owns now. And I don't know if it's right here, if it's that I should give you a hiding you.
Yes. The question was about the 40 acres behind the site that was acquired by the town for conservation. We'll put signage up where that connects to our property. And the short answer is yes, that is open to the public as far as I understand it. It is town owned. So as soon as you kind of cross that line and where our path connects to their future paths, and then you would follow up with them about any issues. But we definitely think that that's a huge advantage to this property and are really excited that the town was able to acquire and preserve that space because now any resident here has that. You had 40 acre backyard and stuff.
And they're going to go trails there.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to build trails there, and again, those will be maintained, connected to our property. So the property line is that barrier, and we expect to be really close to coordinate with the town on those kind of logistics and signage and anything else.
And you're across the street, Betty Clark.
Yeah, right.
The trailhead community park.
Trailhead community park.
Right on the back.
Yeah, I guess I'll just kind of take a step back as questions went down. Please ask more. But I did want to just kind of remember back in 2021. So when we first acquired this property, it's carved out of that broader 68 acres that Brushwood Farm used to be. And that was part of our communication with town about preserving additional space. And that was a lot of kind of logistical work that we did back then. But so much of the goal for this site was to be able to create this space that had access to nature. So, we're subject to regulations that we can't cut down trees over 1,400 feet. So there are trees that have been there for a long time and have stayed, and we really designed the site around that. Same kind of I don't know, and you see there. So back to the clip, sorry. So the tree is kind of in the middle of that clearing, and then over at that top right corner were original to the site, and we had to disturb them. And then, so I guess I just wanted to kind of, we have been really committed to those principles from when we started, all electric, sustainable, meeting, energy certifications and all of the state requirements. So that's a big part of the goal for the site and our priorities. I hope that helps with the progress. Yeah.
How many units are in each building?
13 buildings, 5 units each.
And how many
And again, they all have their own entrance from that shared park.
So how big around is that Zoomer?
I don't have the distance off the top of my head. You can't quite see from one end of the site to another. Like if I'm standing at the buildings on that corner, their trees are in the way, I can kind of see those buildings at the top, but
What's on the bridge?
yeah, it's a bit spread out. Yes.
Thank you. Of the 65 units, all of them have to meet the criteria or some market?
None are unrestricted market. All of them are restricted affordable.
All 100% are restricted.
100% of the units are restricted affordable and residents must income qualify.
That is.
Yeah, so we have that kind of 120% tier, which the state calls a workforce or middle income tier. And then that's 15 units, and then the other 50 units are 60% AMI.
So if someone was offered a 2-bedroom flat, or maybe I won a lottery for 2 bedrooms. When you offer me a 2-bedroom with a second floor, but I can't do the second floor, am I saying no?
It depends on whether that 2-bedroom flat was already leased up.
So if I want number one in the lottery, then that's not it. Fine. If you offer me a 2-bedroom, so I would have a preference to say I prefer a flat.
So I asked about the size.
I think so. If you have, maybe you have a doctor's note that says stairs are challenging, or you have some other stipulations, then yeah, we would respect that. It wouldn't have to be like, I immediately need a unit. It could be, I need a flat unit for these kind of more mild symptoms or reasons. And then, yeah, we could respect that. Absolutely.
But if it's already taken,
But if it's already taken, it's already taken.
I'm out.
Yeah.
You can stay on the wait list.
Yeah, and you can stay on the wait list
For
specific
future.
for a flat 2-bedroom unit.
Yes. In your history, the recreation of Penrose, what kind of turnover have you seen historically? So how are the wait lists? I mean, some of the state housing, the wait lists are hundreds long, and you're not going to look long enough to get on it. In your experience in Massachusetts, going at how long is this wait list?
It's very kind of city specific as well, depending on population. We might see a little bit with the higher AMIs, we might see a little bit more of turnover, with job transfers, things like that. But people tend to love our communities and want to stay, but it's just standard with apartment living. We'll have some turnover every year, I'm sure.
I love the fact that you're limiting those hours, because on the state housing, you can apply anywhere in the state.
Yeah, exactly.
Get on that list. So I'm glad you're restricting it to Bergen County.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I think that's something we're really excited about too, and we'll also pursue for our next project here. So I guess my follow-up answer to your question is you could also apply when 238 Pittsfield Road comes on. So just to kind of preview the other project that we have in the pipeline, it's 68 units, and again, it would be 50 units that are 60% AMI or below, and then 18 at that higher income tier. But it's around down the road, and it's a pretty similar layout. So I would say it's right across from Limekiln Road.
From what?
Limekiln Road.
It's across the street.
Yeah, it's across the street, kind of near the, I guess now Macon.
Yes, Macon.
Yes.
Last question.
Please.
Is that a separate lottery for the second development?
That will be a separate offering.
So if you had a
We're still waiting for funding, so.
If you had 100 on the wait list for Penrose 1, that doesn't put me at front of the line for Penrose.
It doesn't put you in any sort of front line for the second one, but you could be on the wait list for this one and get another one right here.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Is it still Lenox? It's still Lenox.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just down.
It's actually exactly
Like yeah. Okay. So when is you're ready?
When is that going to be ready? We are finding out about state awards in maybe a month. And then if we get funded, we would expect to start construction early next year. If we do not get funded, we must wait until we can apply another.
Thanks. Can you just have any other projects that are similar to this in terms of being in rural areas? They have.
Yeah, we do. We have several on the Cape that are similar small towns.
I would say is the closest to this.
I'm supposed to say
Swiss Landing is a very similar one. Yes, Swift's Landing in Wareham. What is that? Swift's Landing in Wareham?
Yeah,
Swift, but with an S. Swift's Landing.
It's a bird, right?
Yeah, so it's all of our apartments in the Cape are very nautical names too.
Yeah. So this is a Wareham on the Cape, and then there's another project in East Hamlet, which is a bit denser. But that's been operating for several years now, and Wareham just completed the lease up. But yeah, we do the same type of. Thank you all. So yeah, that's
It's really a full, like, individual townhome styles, like the clubhouse in the middle, just that nice play feel. For Swift's Landing, we do have several units on our website. And these units will be somewhat similar. Of course, the countertops, cabinets, colors and materials can change, but if you want to just kind of get a feel, yeah, check it out. Yeah. If you wanted to see other communities too, if you go to penrose.com, that's our general website, and you can actually search by state. So you can see everywhere that, that we have current properties leased out.
Is a question you're asking?
Yes.
Can I do a question?
But you asked the question of how you are in this with also have a disability. If that's a yes, does that automatically you're locked into the ADA appointments?
No, not necessarily. It's just letting us know any special features you may need. So on the application, we would just ask you to notate, if, things like if you would need or no stairs, grab bars in the shower, walk-in shower, any special needs that you might have. We just want to know ahead of time, so we give you the appropriate. What's that? Okay.
I'll also just add, in addition to mobility accessible units, we also have a requirement to create hearing and audiovisual accessible units. So we do have a couple of units that are specific for those kind of disabilities as well. So we don't assume what that disability is when you're filling up your phone.
I think because some folks are leaving and some of these questions are running on, but I'm not sure how much time TSC is giving us. If you could maybe, if you want to stop the camera, but anyone who feels that they need to leave, by all means, grab some water and cookies somewhere. And if you have questions that you still want answered, they have agreed to be here until 8. So consider that part of the program is over, but the folks who know everything will remain. And one of the things I want to say that I failed to mention before is that none of your information on income, assets, what your household is like, relationships, any of that, the town doesn't have either interest in that, and we won't be handling any of that paperwork. It goes directly to them. So none of those private bits of information will be known to anyone in the town. They take care of all of that. It's all done very privately and very well because they're quite experienced at it. So that's something that you can be sure of.
Yes,
and trust.
Locked into our software.
So the Affordable Housing Trust says, thank you very much for coming, and stick around if you have questions to ask.
Again.